Joel Embiid know damn well that white girl wouldn't have looked at you twice. Think about it. They know they're only getting with you for what you got. And our black men have such low self-esteem that they will marry away their wealth just to be seen in public with a white woman. That's a damn shame.
No.
Black queens forever, Snowbunnies never.
Yo, what's good, family? We back with another very special episode of the Elevated Podcast where we're working our mind, working our conscience, and staying elevated way above the nonsense. Y'all know how this go. Brother Harold J. Love, what's good?
What it do, baby?
What's up, family?
Season 2, baby.
Harold, man, I'm going to give you the pleasure of introducing our guest today.
We got it goes without saying, man, we got a legend in here. I'm excited to do part 2. It's part of the reason why this platform kind of is where it is today. For real, popped us off with a strong note, man. We had to run it back. We got Dr. Umar in the building.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Glad to be back. Nashville, Tennessee. Stand up.
What's up, Doc?
Good to be back in town. Glad to be here.
Doc, man.
All is well. All is well. Back on the Elevated Podcast. Looking for another great conversation.
Man, to pop it out kind of where what I think it was the Did He Do It clip.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
and what was the other one? The one Cosby is in jail for. That was the one.
Black Wall Street did good, too, talking about Jefferson Street and how we could come together.
They trying to kick us out, y'all, on Jefferson Street. I'm glad y'all brought that up.
I've been seeing it.
Yeah. Well, what they've been
everywhere.
doing is, because y'all know my storefront is over there. They've been trying to raise our rent extreme. Like, our rent just went up $500. Like, they're trying to kick us out of there. Everybody. So we was like, nah, y'all ain't kicking us out. So we like, shit, we gonna make it work. Everybody gonna get together and we gonna stay there. Because they're really trying to, like, y'all know where the old Knockout Wings at?
Yep.
So they was gonna put a restaurant down there at the bottom and then put some condos at the top, but now they just gonna tear it all down and put some condos up. Well, they tried to buy all that behind Meharry.
Oh, strip.
And when you say they, who is they?
Developers. I don't know the race of these developers though, because some of them are supposed to be black. So I don't know.
That's the thing. A lot of people think it's a lot of white people coming buying up these properties and building. I know a few people. It's a lot of black people that's actually behind this development that's going on in the city. So,
But you also have to clarify, though, when you say there's a lot of black people behind this development, because one of the things that these non-Africans do, and I'm saying non-African instead of just white, because now you have this wave of East Indian immigrants, this wave of Arabs, this wave of migrants, and they're working with the white people against us. But one of the strategies that these non-Africans employ to push the gentrification is they'll get a black person to front the sale. They'll get a black person to front the negotiation. So from the time they establish contact with you until you actually sign the paperwork, you've seen nothing but black faces. But when it's time to actually sign the paperwork, that's when the Caucasian comes out the back.
Gotcha.
That's when the Asian comes out the back. So a lot of us are helping the gentrification campaign by fronting the process, fronting the sale, fronting the negotiation as long as possible until the actual purchaser has to buy. And then sometimes they'll let the black person buy it and then flip it right on over to them too. So when a black person is saying, I'm interested, you got to do a little bit more research. Who is your funder? You see what I'm saying? Who is your funder? Are you just a representative? What's the name of the corporation you representing? You know, because I go back to Checkers. Remember the Checkers fast food kind of shut down now. But from what I learned, LaVan Hawkins was the spokesperson, the black man out front, but he was never the owner. So you got to go a little bit deeper. Don't get me wrong. You do have some black people engaging in these investments and purchases, but a lot of them are just the face of a white agenda.
now, are we, because it's a new time now, black people are getting more information and more knowledge, and they're tapping into the real estate side of things and, you know, development, stuff like that. Are we wrong for partnering?
Yes, if you know, absolutely.
Yes.
If you know that that white person or non-African which is almost a given, to be honest with you, because we have no friends. But if you know they're just using you to make inroads into the black community to buy up the land, and you dead wrong. It's the same thing with charter schools. White-run charter schools, they'll get a black person to front the charter school to the community to make all the parents think this is a black initiative and it's white all along. Anytime you mislead the people, you automatically serving the agenda of the enemy.
All right.
It needs to be all black, everything from top to bottom, especially now, because as you know, there's so much conversation going on about the presidential election and all of that. And of course, where I stand, no matter who wins, we're going to lose. You see Donald Trump, you know, this man is weaponizing stereotypes about black people, you know, to empower white people to go after the Haitians. Now he's making comments about our Congolese African brothers and sisters who came here. And let us be clear, anytime you make an insult about any group of black people, you're talking about all black people. He's talking about us, but he's doing it indirectly because he feels targeting the Congolese and the Haitians in America. That's a lot safer than going directly at black people. But I mean, when he was in office before, he called African countries shithole countries, but he didn't talk about why they're shithole countries. They're shithole countries because of Western imperialism and exploitation. Look at what he did a few days before he left office. He signed the death warrant for about 4 black men, 2 or 3 of whom was presumed innocent. And then even when we look at Marcellus Williams, who was just executed in Missouri last week, neither candidate said anything about that. Here's a man who's the victim's family, the woman who lost her life. Okay, and our hearts go out to the family for that, even though she was a Caucasian. Loss of life is loss of life. Her family didn't want him to die. Her family didn't want him to die. This is the victim's family. The prosecutor didn't want him to die. He came across new information. He originally convicted him. Came across new information later, said, based on what we got now, I think this man might be innocent. The whole chain said, let him go. And the governor and the state Supreme Court of Missouri said, kill him. Kamala Harris didn't say a word about that death. Donald Trump didn't say a word about that death. Let's take our brother who was lynched in North Carolina. I'm forgetting his name. From Chicago, the truck driver. That brother was lynched. You don't get a word from Kamala. You don't get a word from Donald Trump. Now flip that. When you had that Asian wave of killings of Asian women in Atlanta, the Atlanta parlor murders, Joe Biden and Vice President Harris flew to Atlanta and had a sit down with the Asian community. We just had a wave of executions, lynchings, and there was at least 3 blacks, unarmed blacks murdered by police. So you just had a wave of black murder, but there was no mass meeting with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. So how are we out here crashing out over whether you should vote for the red party or the blue party when they're both just extensions of the white power party? You understand?
People out here losing friends, cutting people off.
Yeah. Without a single promise.
Choice.
Without a single promise. Now, if they promised you something, I can understand. Right. If you said Kamala Harris said, I'm going to do this for black schools. If you say Donald Trump said, I'm going to do this for the black economy. Ain't no promises. Neither party made promises and we crashing out. And for me, I think this speaks to plantation security. I think black people don't feel comfortable not being on a plantation of some kind. We feel like we have to. Because people are saying, Dr. Umar, you make a good argument why we shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. You make a good argument for why we shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. So who do we vote for? For me, I don't vote unless I have a good reason to. I don't just vote because I can. The problem with American Africans is we think because we can, we should, right? No, sir. You can spend your money. That don't mean you should. Unless I have a reason to vote, I don't. And we got to realize now, we've been voting Democrat for the past 88 years consistently. We started to switch over to Democrat for the past 92 years, back to the 1932 election, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That's how long we've been voting Democrat. It'll be 100 years, in a couple of years, a century of Democratic Party loyalty. Can you tell me what have they done for us to earn almost 100 years of consistently earning the black vote?
Jeff, you know you thinking when one of your eyebrows go look.
You got the rock eyebrow.
Almost 100. And then you flip to, I got an email today, right? There's a brother from the DMV. He says, Dr. Umar, I can get you a sit down with the Republican National Committee. I might be able to get you a sit down with Donald Trump. I'm not really interested at this point. And I'm going to tell you why. Donald Trump can only be president for one more term. Because he can only be president for one more term, there's no obligation. He's going to do anything he says because he doesn't need us again. Do you follow me?
I follow.
You're supposed to hold presidents accountable the first term. See, when Obama got in office, what did black people say? Let him get comfortable the first term. And then the second term, he'll serve our needs. He never got around to doing that. You can't hold them accountable the second term because they don't need you again. You understand? You got to get them to hold you accountable the first term, not the second. Second, you're done. You're supposed to get what you're supposed to get early. We did not do that. And once again, we're still playing identity politics. Vote for Kamala Harris. First of all, I don't believe she's of African descent. I don't, based on everything that I saw. Even if she is, that's not the issue. The issue is policy. Joe Biden was a Caucasian. Bill Clinton was a Caucasian. You understand? Donald Trump is a Caucasian. The only reason why black people are paying so much attention to Kamala Harris's race is because the Democratic Party plantation slave drivers, the D.L. Hughley's and Steve Harvey's and Roland Martins of the world, they're telling black people you have to vote because she's black. If they didn't make it about race and if they made it about policy, nobody would be investigating her heritage. You see Candace Owens going all in on where she's from. That wouldn't even be happening if she focused on policy. What are you going to do for black people? Sell us that instead of selling us your heritage. Yeah. If she would have led with the policy, her race would have never became an issue.
They're trying to sell us the rights for the vote instead of the policy.
Absolutely, because that's how we normally vote as black folks.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
And you're going to lose either way. You're going to lose either way.
Here, so many black people, like, even, I see a lot of times online now, and they might crucify me for it, but it's my platform, I say what the fuck I want.
Straight up.
They, no, you see online, they be like, your mama wouldn't be proud of you, like, black men online.
Ancestor shaming. Right. A lot of ancestor
like,
shaming.
I'm like, man, because that man don't want to vote for her, now he a disappointment to his mama.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and see, yeah. It's crazy. And see, my thing is, you can't ancestor shame me because I know that history. I'm a big Fannie Lou Hamer fan. Without Fannie Lou Hamer, we may not get the Voting Rights Act. I'm a big Dr. King fan, so I know the history. And what the Democratic Party plantation slaves are not talking about is how the Democratic Party tried to sabotage Fannie Lou Hamer and her party when they came to Atlantic City during that 68 convention. They were not for her. Now, when you watch the Democratic National Convention a couple weeks ago in Chicago, they kept talking about Fannie Lou Hamer. They was bigging her up as if the Democratic Party supported her. Lyndon Baines Johnson wanted nothing to do with her. They sabotaged them. They had the FBI install listening devices in their hotel. They wanted nothing to do with Fannie Lou. They undermined her and her Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. You understand? They were against black progress. And this is 68. So my point is, we have to approach politics from a business position and not a relationship position. We keep looking at this relationship. We've had a relationship with the Democratic Party for 88 to 92 years. We should keep the relationship. We only going to have a relationship if I'm getting something out of this. This is a one-sided relationship where they get our votes and we get nothing in return. And let us be honest, the agenda for black people is the same, regardless of party. It's the same. The only difference is the tactic and the strategy. Listen, you're going to lose under Donald Trump, because all he's going to do is focus on white folks. You're going to lose under Kamala Harris. All she's going to do is focus on migrants. It don't matter who you choose. You're getting nothing because your vote is not organized enough to hold anybody accountable. Long story short, until we organize the black vote and we vote as a race with a black agenda, our votes will never matter to us. They always matter to the candidate because they need the numbers, but they'll never matter to us because we never organize ourselves.
I know people hate to see you coming because.
And then remember, I got invited to do the interview with her. They wanted to pay me $15K for Kamala Harris a couple months ago. So remember, some people were saying, well, did he make that up? I didn't make it up. They texted me and said we wanted to pay. And they was after me for a while. And I said, listen, it got to be live. They wanted an interview, but I wanted it live. You're not going to pre-record it and splice it because I know how y'all crackers move. So I said, live interview, straight to the people. I don't want your money. I ain't for sale. I think they wanted to test to see if I was a money-hungry Negro. And I said, nah, let's do it. And they never called me back because they wasn't going to let her answer my questions live because she wouldn't have any answers. And I'm going to tell you this. This is what black people are not paying attention to. If Kamala Harris wins, we really going to catch hell. You know why? She going to make us pay for everybody who exposed the fact that she was never black. Do you feel me? She has a grudge and an axe to grind. Black people ain't getting shit if Kamala Harris get elected. You weren't going to get it anyway. Stay with me. Yeah. But it was a neutral neglect. You feel me? That would have been thank you. It would have been a benign neglect. Now it's a spiteful neglect. I'm going to get you ninjas back for exposing the fact that I was never black. Black people ain't going to get nothing. Now some of her AKA sisters, shout out to the AKA queens, some of her AKA sisters going to get a couple, puppet positions. She going to throw a couple black fraternity brothers, a couple puppet positions, a little tokenism. But black people ain't getting nothing structural. The Democrats are clear. Their whole future is all about the immigrants to replace black folks.
Wow.
Throwing money out there.
And this is why.
They throwing money to them. Like, it's
right.
valid.
Pay for the black vote. Yeah. First of all, and I love my sister Megan Thee Stallion. Megan, stop losing weight. I like you 5'5", thick in the thighs. You're getting a little too skinny.
Stay there.
I need you to eat a couple eat a couple cheesecakes. But listen, I like them curvy. You're getting too skinny, Megan. Still gorgeous. But here's the thing. We have to stop calling ourselves people of color. They're using that against us. By calling ourselves people of color and we stop using black, we're helping to extinguish our voice in the public conversation. Because nobody's hearing black no more. Nobody's hearing American or African no more. Most black people, when they describe themselves, what do they say? I'm a person of color, people of color. By doing this, you're lumping yourselves up with the Latinos, the Arabs, the East Indians, the Native Americans, the homosexuals, the women. Here's the problem with that. Once they get us calling ourselves people of color, which they've already have, let's say 2 years, right? For 2 years, most black people have stopped identifying as black. They now say people of color. They're going to get to a point where you're completely identified with all these other non-white people who can't stand you any more than the Caucasian. And then you know what they're going to do? They're going to flip all these other people of color against your interests. Let me give you an example of how they're doing it right now. Mm-hmm. There's surveys being carried out across America where they're asking other people of color, reds, yellows, browns, poor whites, what do you think about reparations to black people? This is what they're doing right now. It's happening now. And guess what the Asians are saying? I don't think they need reparations. America isn't racist. What do you think the East Indians are saying? I don't think they need reparations. America isn't racist. What do you think the Native Americans and the European Jews are saying? I don't think they need reparations. America isn't racist. So the same people you identify with as people of color, when questions come up about your issues and your agenda, they can cancel it. Why? Because all the other people of color who you now identify with have taken a vote and said, y'all don't need reparations. Let me give you another example. Let's say you have a child, your son, we got black boys in public schools in Nashville. They're catching all kind of hell, special ed hell, ADHD hell, psychiatric med hell, right? You say this school is racist. It's you and 5 other black mothers. This school is racist. You black father, black. This school is racist. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to have a meeting of parents of color. Look at this now. It's a black issue, but you don't call yourself black no more. You've identified with your enemies of other color. They're going to call people of color and they're going to talk to all the people of color. And they're going to say, do y'all think we're targeting the boys of color? You're not targeting the Arabs. You're not targeting the Latinos. You're not targeting the East Indians. You're targeting black. But because we handcuffed ourselves into this new identity of people of color, whenever they want to suffocate the black voice, all they got to do is ask the other people of color, what do you think about it? And we're done. Stop calling yourself a person of color. Be black. We better stop and change that public narrative back, especially now with the migrant crisis. They're going to suffocate the hell out the black agenda.
And we saw such a passionate and compassionate and empathetic, like, race of people that shoe on the other foot. I'm like, hell yeah, give them reparations.
Yep.
Hell yeah, give them whatever it is.
Yep.
Like
nobody speaks for us. We keep saying black and brown. Mm-hmm. When have you heard brown people speak about blacks? They don't.
No, they don't.
They don't. Black and brown. Every black. Why you can't just say black? Because we have been bullied into feeling uncomfortable, only articulating our own issues. Black people are the only people who don't feel comfortable just fighting for black issues. Jews only fight for Jews. Latinos only fight for Latinos. Arabs only fight for Arabs. Mexicans only fight for Mexicans. Black people fight for everybody. And here's the Achilles heel of that mindset. If you're going to make everybody else's issue as important as your own, why should we care about your issue? By bringing them in, you automatically demote the seriousness of your issues. Multiculturalism was a trap the whole time. And one of the reasons I say multiculturalism was a trap the whole time, did you know Mexicans were once legally considered white in this country? Did you know East Indians were once legally considered white in this country? Did you know the Japanese sued in court to be white in this country, but they lost? Did you know Arabs are considered white right now in this country? Look at this. People of color? Harold, how is this a genuine people of color when every group in this people of color group used to be considered white and wish they could again be considered white? So why would you unite with them? They're using our self-hate and our love of outsiders to trap us into a corner where we can't crawl out of.
That's dirty.
It's a trap, the multicultural trap. We got to go black to all black everything. I've been pushing it. Garvey said it 100 years ago. There's nothing new about it, but black people better wake up to it right now because it's on our front door now.
You ask a black person now what Pan-Africanism is, like they probably wouldn't know what the fuck you're talking about, though, unless they potentially tapped into your platform.
Right.
So getting them to understand what it is that Garvey taught, you feel me? Getting them to understand, like, the pride that's associated with being black. Like, I feel like the brainwashing is ran too deep.
It is ran too deep. Yeah.
I think it's ran too deep, and everybody said, like, everybody can't make it. Like, you know what I mean?
You ain't taking everybody.
You ain't taking everybody.
And if you try to, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You can't take everybody. In fact, if you were to ask me to guesstimate, right, you have about 40 to 50 million Africans in America. Continental Africa is included because as a Pan-Africanist, we all won. Of that 50 million Africans in America, I'm going to say maybe 5 million. I'm going to give you 10%. 90% of us are completely useless, right? Of that 90%, 60% of them are too religious to objectively evaluate our political, social, economic condition and do something about it. The Christ out Christian, I'm not saying anything wrong with Christian. I'm talking about the person who's so Christian that they've lost all connection to reality. You're so Muslim, you've lost all connection to reality. You're so Hebrew, so Jehovah Witness, so Seventh-day Adventist, you've lost all connection to reality. So 60% are gone. Because most of those religions, excluding the Hebrews, most of those religions teach colorblindism, right? The Christian church indoctrinates all their followers. God don't see color. The masjid, I was raised Orthodox Muslim. I know God don't see color. You feel me? So 60% of us feel that embracing an African first consciousness is against God, which basically means redeeming black people is against God. You see that? If I can't fight for my people alone, then what you're saying is God isn't interested in African redemption, because the only way African redemption happens is if black people focus on themselves. So you got 60% religious. You got another 20%. They are straight up economic opportunists. Do you feel me? They don't give a shit about black power or white power. Yeah. They want green power. They will hustle any part of the struggle to get. They can't see beyond their bank account. And that's a big percentage of black men, by the way. A lot of black men are going to be useless for the freedom struggle because we are so addicted to money. We can't think beyond money, right? And then your last 10, 20%, they so in love with white folks, they would rather die on the Titanic with their slave master than jump on a canoe with their brothers and sisters. You understand? You got a percentage of us who are die-hard, black-skinned white people. And you got people who've been raised 3-4 generations of coons. See, we fail to realize that. And a lot of them go to your HBCUs and your PW, but the great-grandma was a house Negro. Great-great-grandpa was a house Negro. Father was you understand? So they have been indoctrinated. This is how their family operates. We serve the interests of white people, and that's how we protect our own interests. You're only taking 10%.
I think that a lot of I believe you said a large percentage of black men operate that way in the financial
Yes.
light. I think a lot of it is because we all know that I ain't talking about me. But I think a lot of that is because so much of our worth and our value, the way it's projected to us, is tied to what we can financially do. And I think that a lot of brothers feel damn near worthless if they don't get out here and hustle and stuff like that. So brothers be willing to compromise their integrity, their word, their soul, their family, any and everything, you know what I mean, to obtain that book. And again, that's why I say, like, some of us are too far gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're absolutely right. Black men, 400 years later, our value as people is still largely determined by our physical output and our physical strength. Look at the athletes. A professional athlete is completely valued the same way our ancestors were. Do you follow me? There's absolutely no different. They just changed the words. Instead of a slave auction, it's the NFL Combine. You see that? How fast can he run? How much can he lift? They're valued the exact same way. The only difference is they're compensated more. But guess what? They still have the exact same level of power as our enslaved African ancestors, which is none at all. When Israel invaded Palestine and LeBron James issued a statement saying that he stood with Israel, I almost threw up. Because I said, here's a black man who claims to be an activist. Here's a black man who other people claim to be an activist. And after all we've been through as African people here and abroad, how dare you, as prominent as you are as a celebrity, go public and say you side with the oppressor in their genocide against another oppressed people. When I saw LeBron issue that statement in defense of Israel, Floyd Mayweather did it too, but he's been a coon. So I expect that from Floyd Mayweather. I didn't necessarily expect it from LeBron James, but when he did that, he really showed me, who he belongs to.
if you could say something to him, what would you say to him? Because I hear like
It's too late at this point.
I hear damn near disappointment.
I'm very disappointed. Now, LeBron is a great father, though, and I root for him and his son being on the court together because I think that father-son duo, the first in NBA history, I could see that influencing a lot of men to want to get back in their children's lives. You know what I mean? Despite what the baby mama or ex-wife may be doing. So I like the way LeBron and Bronny are popularizing the father-son relationship. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that LeBron James came into the league as a baby and never got into any serious public trouble that we know about. So I don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Responsible black man, black wife, black children, I love it. But political activists, never.
Never.
He is not an activist at all.
Do y'all know what NFL stands for?
Negroes Felice.
I knew you would.
And that's what they do. They lease them. And to be honest with you, the greatest transformation,
Never heard that.
Yeah.
the greatest transformation in the slave system, the greatest transformation in the Caucasian ownership of Africans in America is that they evolved from ownership to a lease system. Think about it. Before they owned your labor, 100% of your life, 24 hours a day, right? Now, we don't need to own their labor because we don't need them all the time. Just lease their labor. Look at the Snowbunny crisis. Look at what white women are doing in these relationships with black men. They get with them. The average relationship between a snow bunny and a black millionaire athlete is 5 years. 5 years. Why is it 5 years? Because she's investing in this. She's going to give it just enough time, pop out a couple babies, and then divorce. She's leasing you. The love is on lease. It is a love lease. And after 5 years pass, or if you fall from grace sooner, she's out. Look at all the paydays these white women are getting. The latest one, a young brother from the Atlanta Hawks, he had to give her a $1.5 million settlement. And he only make but so much, but he had to give a $1.5 million settlement and $5,000 a month for child support. Kanye West has the highest child support payment in American history, $500,000 a month. Kanye, I think it's either $250,000 a month or $500,000. It's the. But I'm gonna respect Kanye because he don't even complain about it. You feel me? But he's in a position. He's a billionaire, so he can do that. You know what I mean? Of course, Adidas are now selling his Yeezys for $30 at the outlets because he didn't want to re-up with them. He said, y'all turned on me. Don't come back to me. You know what I mean? So I respect him for that. Kanye has more courage and heart. He might be the most he might be the bravest politically in the hip-hop community. I can't think of another hip-hop artist who has more courage to say the truth than Kanye West. Because remember, he took on the Jews and lived to tell about it, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? He only took on them. He didn't take on white supremacy in totality. He kept his relationships with everybody else, so he was still strategic with that, and I can respect it. Nonetheless, he took on the Jews and lived to tell about it, but he's still a bunny hopper. And now they're reporting that he's about to get another divorce. So he married this new white girl after Kim, that they're about to get a divorce. My Negro. Why must you get married at all right now? And why you keep going to these damn pasty Top Tarts? Get your ass a queen who can balance you out. My personal opinion on Kanye is until he gets some therapy, because
crazy.
That's crazy.
He hasn't properly grieved his queen mother's passing, and rest in peace to Mother West. But he hasn't, and he's looking for comfort in these white folks. Yeah. And the problem is, y'all, we don't understand Caucasians. We look at this irony, y'all. We have suffered at the hands of whites more than any race in human history, and you still don't understand them. How is it possible for you to go through what we went through at the hands of white people and still not see them for who they are? Something is blocking a couple things. Mm-hmm. Your low self-esteem and your need to be validated by them. It's like a woman in a relationship with a man who's doing nothing but using and abusing her. She sleeps with him every night, but she still can't see who he really is. Why? Because her desire to have him accept her, black people's desire to have white people finally accept us as equals is so strong. We're so thirsty for that psychological equality, we can't see the person truly for who they are that we're trying to get it from. We are in psychological bondage to European consciousness. Let me say that again. The American African, and this is probably true for the entire African world, but the American African in particular, we are in psychological bondage to European consciousness. That's why the most honorable Marcus Garvey said, what? Don't take the kinks out of your hair. Take the kinks out of your mind. Free the mind and the body will follow.
That's a clip right there.
No, for real. Nowadays, I feel like Kanye is definitely one of the bravest speaking out on political. But back in the day, you also had Cube. You had Ice Cube.
Yes.
Seen some interviews with him. He was definitely speaking out on it.
And you had others too. And you had others.
Sources and things like that.
Back then, just athletes,
everybody had some
artists,
consciousness back then.
Everybody.
But you know what they did, right? They said, listen, what do black people love more than air? Money. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate the haves from the have-nots in the black community. If you don't separate the haves from the have-nots, we're going to give birth to another Muhammad Ali. If you don't separate the haves from the have-nots, we're going to give birth to another Jim Brown. You feel me? We can't afford that. For us to properly exploit these black athletes and not have any political pushback, we cannot create black activists out of our athletes. And the best strategy to prevent from our black athletes becoming activists is to pay them more money. Separate them from their base of power, which is the black community, and bring them into our community. This is why they send the white girls in there on draft day. They send them in there. They send them. They send them to the athletes. Half these black men with white wives, they think they met them organically. They think they met them randomly. They think their meeting was an act of chance. No, it wasn't. The agent in the leak sent them in there because they know that if we get you a bunny, she can massage you. What has always been the military responsibility, the political and military responsibility of a white woman in the black experience? To psychologically disarm the black male. That's why they make sure most of the teachers who teach our boys are white women. The job of the white woman is to soften up the black man politically, soften up the black man psychologically, break him down so when a white man come with the machete to cut his fucking head off, he'll be powerless to resist. The white woman's job is to seduce you politically, sexually, economically, and otherwise.
So you feel like do you feel like that's just like all white women? Because you have some white women that look at your face.
Go ahead, finish that.
Let's get in. Let's talk about it.
I want to hear your bunny defense. I want to hear the bunny argument.
Because I can listen.
Give me the pro-bunny defense.
No, I'm just saying this. I went to a private school, right? And not all white women are like that. Now, granted, there are some.
Before you finish, you went to a private school, right?
Yes.
Don't give me the name. Are you speaking of college or high school?
Both.
Let's take the high school.
Okay.
What was the racial composition of the students? 50% white, 70% white?
No,
90%?
this one was maybe like 70% black.
Okay.
And the remaining white.
Okay, now tell me about the college.
The college was like 30% white. 30% black, the rest white.
Okay, go back to your statement.
Okay, so I'm speaking from high school, my high school experience. A lot of my high school friends are still with their husbands now that play professional ball. Mm-hmm. But like growing up, I never seen them do like, I guess, hypnotizing or whatever you're saying that they do. Mm-hmm. But
you're not in the bedroom with them nor in their home.
That is true. But I just know what type of character these people have.
What you've seen.
Yes. But I've been knowing them for years though. Like, so I just dealing with different relationships and seeing different things. I can't say that every Caucasian woman is like that.
The mistake you're making is a mistake that many Africans make.
Okay.
We try to turn white power into an individual issue. We try to turn white bigotry into an individual personality characteristic. We try to turn white supremacy into an individual illness. It is a group system. Listen, all white people participate. Mm-hmm. All white people benefit. Okay. The fact that they sleeping with a black man means nothing. They slept with black men on the plantations and it meant nothing. Okay. At the end of the day, if her race calls on her to do something to protect white power, she's doing it. I don't give a damn how many years she's been married to the black man. And here's where we really get it wrong. For black people, because we have no greater loyalty to the race. Mm-hmm. Our loyalty is all to individuals. Mm-hmm. It's hard for us to understand that in every other group, Arab, East Indian, Chinese, they have a greater loyalty to the group that supersedes any loyalty they have to you. We don't understand that as black people because we have no group loyalty that supersedes personal loyalty. Mm-hmm. But if any one of those white women get a phone call from Donald Trump or Joe Biden and say your race needs you to do X, Y, and Z, they will do it. And they could care less what their black husband thinks about it. I don't need to go into all the white mothers married to black men who have called their black mixed race sons the N-word. What do you say about that? Married to a black man for 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. Slept with him in college, slept with him in high school. And when her son pissed her off, she called him a ninja. What do you say about that? A bunny is a bunny is a bunny. And all white people are racist. And until you understand that, you are a psychological casualty of the war against Africans. There is no exceptions. You must the nicest white to the sweetest white to the oldest white. At the end of the day, they believe in white privilege. And I simply ask you this.
What if
all those, stay with me. That don't mean nothing.
What if they
still got the DNA of the enslaved.
But if they're adopted into a black family, because I know something of, I know.
So? They
but
still
I'm just
white.
saying, yeah, but if they grow.
Didn't our grandmother nurse all them crackers on her titty? on the plantation. Didn't our grandmothers raise them white boys with her breast milk, her black chocolate milk? And when he grew up, did he not sell the woman away into bondage who raised his ass on her own breast milk and fed him before she fed her own children? So what? They got adapted into a black family. What does that change about the consciousness of white supremacy? Nothing. Let me ask you a question. Which one of those white women you know married to a black man has ever belonged to an organization that systemically fought to remove any of the major problems that affect black life?
A couple.
A couple? Mm-hmm. What's the names of the organization?
I know Jeffrey Simmons, one of the players for the Tennessee Titans. He has an organization that has something to do.
Okay, he's black.
Yeah, but
what they got to do with his wife?
Yeah, no. Well, his wife's black. Yeah, I'm talking
about the bunnies.
Right. Yes, I'm talking about the different organizations that they have chimed into. Some of them have to do. I mean, some of the organizations that they've chimed into are black.
Of course, she's going to join the NFL.
But what if she don't know?
So she can meet some black penis. Of course, that don't count. That don't count.
I don't know.
She gonna give me a bougie.
That's the case. Or maybe she just believe in it. I don't know.
What grassroots? What grassroots? Grassroots.
Wait a minute.
Grassroots. Give us some more white blood. Grassroots. I'm figuring. What grassroots organization did any of these white women belong to to help black folks out?
Man, they don't know no grassroots organization.
They ain't never been a part of none. They are cherry picking black money. And you know what's sad? These rich black men who marry these white women, they know they only marry them for their money. Joel Embiid know damn well that white girl wouldn't have looked at you twice. Think about it. They know they're only getting with you for what you got. And our black men have such low self-esteem that they will marry away their wealth just to be seen in public with a white woman. That's a damn shame. No. Black queens forever, snow bunnies never.